Okay, so hello everybody. This is Francisco here, Marlins historian. It's been gosh, man, it's been a long time since I actually did one of these here in the studio, and things are a bit different now. I'm in a new place. I've moved. It's a lot of changes around here, but and I've really honestly been focusing on the Florida Panthers over the last few months with my Panthers historian site. It's pretty obvious when the team wins the Stanley Cup, I'm gonna move all my attention to them and not the Marlins, who are currently winning right now against the Chicago Cubs, actually having a really good eighth inning right now. And that seems to be it for the offensive onslaught. But hey, let's see if the Fish can actually close out this game and get a victory. Cubs having a very disappointing season, but I have been really out of the loop this season with the Marlins. I think I'm not alone with that sentiment. Many other fans just like us, even the diehards, the few diehards there are, have completely been disinterested in this ball club, and I think that's a bit unfair to the guys that are actually playing right now. And I say that being a Marlins fan that was a fan when the team was awful between 1998 and 2002. And back then, who would have thought that any of those guys would be on a World Series winning club? And eventually they did win it in 2003, but man, I think a lot of people would have been surprised back in 98 and 99 to think those guys could do something like that, or at least do it with the Marlins. And well, I've been so out of the loop. I know guys are traded away. I know some of the guys that were traded away, and I know a lot of fans are disappointed in the fact that the team has decided to rebuild once more. But I think for myself, I'd like to actually be maybe reacquainted with some guys and acquainted with a bunch of guys for the first time ever. So yeah, Marlins with the big inning here, 7-1 right now against the Chicago Cubs, and they're about to try and close out the game. Like, I don't even know who's coming in to pitch right now, and that's kind of where I'm at right now. And I wanted to go through. This is probably the worst content, but I'm also trying to test out everything that I've got here. There's a different webcam. I'm probably replacing that one for something much more high quality because you can see the artifacts going through me with the green screen behind me, and that's because this webcam that I'm using is probably like more than a decade old. It's 1080p, but but I've got the mic and everything set up, the green screen all set up here, even though it's cutting off my hand over here. So that's a result of the webcam, and once I get a new one, it'll be higher resolution for sure, and it'll stretch out towards the end so you don't see me getting cut off like that. Okay, so let's see what we've got here. I'm also trying to get a second screen that'll help me monitor what's going on here, but also monitor what may be happening on the side as far as comments and everything is concerned, because I don't know what's happening. So I see a few people have joined, so thank you on here and on YouTube, Instagram as well. I've got the game going on in the background, and that's a good catch. Look at that, robbing a home run. Holy crap. Oh no. Yeah. Wow. Maybe, or just robbing extra bases at the very least. So yeah, there's a bunch of guys that I'm not sure are on this squad. I don't know their names, and so we're gonna go through them. Let's see. We've got. I need the 40-man roster. I can't go by the actual stats because they're showing a bunch of guys that are no longer on the club. Okay. Let's go by the 40-man roster. So we still got Edward Cabrera. So he's still on the Marlins squad. He's been only with the Marlins his entire Major League career. And yeah. Yeah, so he's pitched this season. He's pitched only 14 games. Sheesh. A lot of these guys seem like creative player names on old Major League Baseball games. That should be an easy out right there. All right, so the Marlins are down to the last out here. Try and close out this game. So we got Calvin Foucher, and he's been with the Fish 47 games now. And he's got a 3.4 ERA. And let's see, where's his whip? 1.4 whip. And 8.9 hits per 9. 10 strikeouts per 9. And he's got currently .8 WAR this season for the Fish. We've got Brett DeJuice. So he was sent over from the Seattle Mariners. Actually, no, he wasn't even sent over. He was selected off waivers by the Marlins by the Mariners. So the Marlins just trying to fill out a roster with this selection here. And so far with the Fish, he's pitched in 7 games, has a 6.35 ERA in 5 innings, 5.2 innings right now, has 1.5 whip and 2.0 or 6.4 strikeouts per 9. Oh boy, this is gonna be rough. Max Meyer, who made a lot of noise earlier this season, came up in 2022 for the Fish, but it seemed like he was going to be on the roster for the entire season this year, but then the Marlins started off horribly, and what looked to most likely be service time manipulation. He was sent back down to the minors, and now he's been called up because there's nobody left on the squad, and there's really nothing more for him to prove in the minor league. So he's pitched in 9 games, 5.44 ERA, 46.1 innings pitched. And yeah, so let's take a look at this. So he's only played for the Fish at this point. Adam Oller wears number 77. How did he get to the Fish? He was picked up as a free agent. Don't know where he was playing before that. He was with Cleveland, and the Guardians released him. So I guess he was in their minor league system, and then they just got rid of him, and so the Marlins just picked him up to fill out the roster here. And let's see, 29 years old. He's only pitched in 1 game, 9.64 ERA. 4.2 innings pitched, and yeah, I'm just not even... Oh boy, who else is on this squad? Kent Emanuel. So another pitcher here. Gonna be tons of pitchers. So Kent Emanuel made his MLB debut back in 2021 with the Astros and pitched in 10 games then. He's been in 9 games with the Fish so far this season. Came over to Miami via... spring training this year, and he was with the Pirates organization last year, didn't get called up in any sort of way, and that's how he's here with the Marlins. John McMillan, another pitcher here. He's pitched in 4 games so far this season. Came to the Fish off waivers from Kansas City, and the Cubs are continuing to bat here, trying to make a comeback in some sort of way. Here, there's just one more out, guys. Come on. So, pitched in 4 games so far this year for the Marlins. Pitched in 4 games for the Royals last year. 2.84 ERA, and it doesn't really matter what the stats are at this point. Just trying to fill out a roster. George Soriano. He's pitched in 15 games so far this season for the Marlins. Was with the team last year, and I guess in comparison to his first season. He's struggled this year, so he's having a bit of a sophomore slump. Last season, he was really, really reliable. The Fish win, so the Marlins take this game against the Cubs to close out this series. Hooray, hooray, they're wearing the blue uniforms. But, yeah, and, well, you can't see anything with this because it's also green on here. It's almost the color of the green screen. Let's see, who else is on this squad? So I think a lot of you are finding out about these guys right now as well. You know, the Dan Le Batard show did a funny but sad segment about a couple weeks back now, where they had Tony go out to I don't know, Versailles or someplace out in Miami to ask people as they were walking into this restaurant if they could name anybody on the Marlins. And Wes Helms, holy wow, Wes Helms, go Fish, if they could name anybody on the Marlins. And well, a lot of people couldn't, or if they could, they've named somebody that used to be on the Marlins and is no longer on the team or is long since retired. But, you know, I think one of the things I'm trying to do with regards to the guys that are on this squad is, man, it takes a lot for players to reach Major League Baseball. The fact that any of these guys are on a Major League squad is something that should be regarded as a huge accomplishment. Right? There's only 30 teams, and as much as you can say X team is terrible, the White Sox are one of the worst teams we've seen in a long time, but man, those guys have made it as far as they could. And it may not be the mountaintop, which is, let's say, a World Series winning organization, but it's one of 30 mountaintops. And that mountain may not be that high, but it's higher than the rest of the mountains. And a lot of people like me, whatever, they stopped in high school, they stopped in college, they never made it past Little League. There's something to be said about the fact that these guys have made it. And like I said, back in 98, 99, a lot of people wouldn't have thought Alex Gonzalez would have hit a game-winning home run in Game 4 of the World Series, right? Mike Lowell, the Yankees sent him off because they didn't have room with Scott Brocious on the roster, right? And look what happened to Mike Lowell. Goes out, becomes a multi-all-star, multi-gold glove player, wins 2 World Series championships. It was a World Series MVP. So one of these guys, at the very least, you would hope would be part of the next great Marlins squad. We don't know when that squad is gonna come to fruition, and a lot of people have been very vocal of what they think of Peter Bendix's plan, that this may not come fast enough, that it's going to take forever, that it's going to be or that it's going to fail. That's copying the way of the Tampa Bay Rays, point for point, may not work with the Marlins, or they won't be able to replicate it. Why? And they won't be able to compete in a division that has a lot of big money spenders in the New York Mets and the Philadelphia Phillies and the Atlanta Braves. And even every now and then the Washington Nationals will go out and make a run. And the Nationals have started to put together a bit of a squad as well that they hope will be contending with those squads. And they have the money to push it when they need to. The Marlins are in a very tough spot. And it's hard. It's hard. It's a very difficult situation. I think I've said it before, and you know, the White Sox are terrible. The White Sox are a very, very bad squad, and a lot of their fans are hoping that they'll eventually have a change of ownership in some sort of way. Even though I think their owner's going to keep that team until he dies. So there's the White Sox. They might move. There's a lot of things there, but and then you have the A's situation, which is also sad. Where that's an organization that, man, change ownership, and they would thrive in Oakland, but they're not willing to do so, and they're gonna ship that team out. And then you've got the Marlins, who've have all of the pieces set for success for a major league squad, right? They've got the ballpark. And they've got a lot of people don't believe in the Miami in the Miami, or I guess the South Florida market, but it's really Miami because I live in Palm Beach County now. I've moved away from Miami, but it's very difficult for Palm Beach County to go see the Marlins right now. So their Marlins are kind of hammed into Miami-Dade County right now. Even people in Broward don't even want to make that trip over to see the Marlins. That's a whole different situation with trying to get people to the ballpark. But I think the Marlins situation, they might have the hardest organization turnaround in sports because of how difficult it has been to convince people that this franchise is going to finally change. It seemed like last season was the season, but it was another flash in the pan. And we've seen some other flashes in the pan over the last decade or so, but there's been nothing to show that people can put their confidence in this squad. And I've made comparisons to the Florida Panthers. Panthers were in this situation a decade ago as well, and after 10 years they finally won the Stanley Cup. And over the last 3 to 4 years now, the squad has really been one of the most well-constructed and well-ran organizations in hockey. So you would hope that the Marlins now, let's say this ownership group, regardless of whether Jeter's running or not, they've had since 2018. So it's been a while. So 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, we're in season number 7 of this. And we're starting a new rebuild once more. It's going to be hard. I don't think this squad is going... If this works, it'll take maybe until 28, 29. This is going to be really hard. Look at the New York Mets. They spent a lot last season. It was really disappointing, but look, they turned it around this season, right? The Phillies are in that championship window right now. The Atlanta Braves, they've had their struggles, but when they're healthy, which will probably be next season, but even this season, a weakened Brave squad due to injuries is still putting up a winning record right now. And then the Washington Nationals, who may, by the point the Marlins are hoping to be good, may actually be really good at that point. So the Marlins are in a situation where they may not be able to catch a window just via default. They're really going to have to push it. And look, the Rays have done it. The Rays have done it without the fancy new ballpark. And, well, the Rays are looking like they might finally get that new ballpark, whether it's in the situation that everyone thought would be ideal, but they're going to probably get it at this point. However, they've made do. Even this season, even though it's disappointing for Tampa Bay, they're still hovering around 500 or just below. So that just takes a couple changes here and there with their elite scouting and coaching and just the ability to find guys. So whatever. This is Peter Bendix's first season at the helm, and we don't really know anything right now. This is a complete teardown. Next season is the real test of whether they can do this. because there's been a lot of changes, and I will commend this for the Marlins. They haven't been afraid to change things behind the scenes, and I think that may be a thing that frustrates the fans, is that they're seeing the changes on the field with the guys that are getting traded out, and seeing guys, no names right now, guys that we're picking up off of waivers or signing off of that from teams that release them, or what have you, or just bringing up some of the guys from the minors that may not be the best prospects that we've got down there, but they need to fill out the roster. And so this isn't, if this is an iteration of what the next great Marlins team is, there's probably not many guys that will be on that squad that are on this squad right now. Maybe 1, 2, or 3, but not too many. The '98 Marlins squad was a hodgepodge of at the beginning, some of the '97 remnants, and then guys filling out the roster. And then towards the end, once you got the September call-ups, you started seeing guys that would eventually be part of the 2003 squad. All right, well, let's see. Continue on. Valente Belloso, Mexican, and he's had some pretty good starts for the Fish this season as well. His last few starts are pretty impressive. Gave up 2 earned runs to the Braves. Last game, pitched 5 innings, 5.2 innings before that against Cincinnati, got the W. Didn't allow a run there. The same thing before that against the Phillies at Philadelphia, 7 innings pitched, only allowed 4 hits and no earned runs. So since his, and even before that against the New York Mets, gave up only 2 runs on 7 hits. So he's been on a bit of a tear lately. He's only given up 4 runs in his last 4 starts. So that's somebody that, hey, maybe could be a guy. And he's finally getting the opportunity with the Marlins. How did he come about here from the Fish? He was traded from Houston earlier this season for Jacob Amaya. So there's gonna be some good stories here. And I think one of the things that I think I can kind of compare it to the guys that are on Fish on First, covering the team and having a fantastic opportunity to do so. A lot of those guys are like in their 20s, early 20s, and just being able to cover a Major League Baseball team, regardless of the level this team is at, but it's still a Major League Baseball team. Reminds me of my journey with the Florida Panthers, covering the team when they were really awful, when the building was half empty or more, and how cathartic it was to see them win the Stanley Cup after so long, after being one of the few people that was down here trying to cover the team and trying to get people to pay attention. And I think down here, once the Marlins finally do get people's attention, I think those guys will definitely thrive a lot more. And last year we saw it, right? Last year, even my Marlins history account was so many people paying attention to the Marlins again for like the first time in years and years and years. And that's one of the things that's disappointing about this season, was that people paid attention for the first time in many, many years, going to a baseball game for the first time in many, many years, or for the first time ever, and then having that rug pulled out from under them. And so yeah, they're showing off Connor Norby. That's another guy that's about to come up on this here. But let's continue on. Jesus Tinoco. So Jesus Tinoco, let's see what... He's from Venezuela. He's pitched for the Fish this season, already 10 games. He came to Miami via being picked off waivers from the Chicago Cubs. And so... so far this with his tenure with the Marlins, he's got a 1.59 ERA in 10 games and 11.1 innings pitched. So that's a .529 walks and hits per innings pitched. So that's another thing with this, is that as much as everybody else is going to be throwing away this season from the outside perspective as far as fans are concerned, there's still a lot of guys' jobs, and these guys are playing out for contracts and positions next season. And for a lot of these guys, it's an opportunity. It's a huge opportunity to show off what they can do. And don't be surprised when you see maybe a few of these names that you may not recognize, but then you'll see them on some other squad next year, and maybe a good squad, maybe a good baseball team that's not the Marlins. I'm like, hey, that wasn't that guy in the Marlins last year. And it's like, hey, yeah, they were impressed with that person's performance, and they gave him an invite to spring training, and look what happened, right? They're at the maybe at the end of the lineup or at the end of the bench, but still on the roster. Okay, Declan Cronin, of course, been with the Fish this season as well. 46 games so far. Emmanuel Ramirez. So, he's pitched in 15 games for the Marlins this season and was a free agent signing earlier before the season started. Rodri Munoz. Man, these are some names. Rodri Munoz came to the Fish. His contract was purchased by the Marlins last, I guess, December against the Pittsburgh Pirates, and hasn't had a very good season thus far. Kyle Stowers. So that's so we got through a lot of pitchers right there. So now we're finally getting to some actual position players here. So Kyle Stowers, 21 games played for the Fish this season. He came to Miami via a trade. He was sent along with Connor Norby to the Fish for Trevor Rogers. So he's part of that Trevor Rogers trade there. Connor Norby's been killing it so far with the Fish since that trade, but not Stowers here. He's currently 21 games played for the Fish. He's got a 127 batting average, just kind of out there. But hey, man, not everybody that comes over via trade is going to be a stud. And but the Marlins, hey, look at Norby. Look what he's doing with his opportunity there. Otto Lopez. So Otto Lopez has been with the Fish throughout most of the season already. 85 games played, and he came to the Fish via being picked off waivers before the season started from San Francisco, and so far he's hitting .238 this year. I'm just going to go with some simple numbers here. Ali Sanchez, catcher. He's played in 28 games for the Fish thus far. Came to the Marlins via having his contract purchased from the Chicago Cubs, and is hitting .149. Yeah, you're seeing a lot of these guys getting picked up from, and I'm seeing July and August pickups, and it's just that the Marlins need to fill out this roster. Right, one of the few guys that are left after last season, Jake Berger, but he's been killing it since the All-Star break, having essentially a career year right now. And even last year was a career year, but he's, gosh, man, he hit 34 last year. He's got 25 thus far. Don't know if he can hit 10 more before the season ends, but that would be insane. And I guess the veteran presence on this Marlins squad. He's 28 years old. He's hitting his prime right now. Fantastic story. I think anybody who knows about Jake Burger's story is cheering for him. And he's definitely not long for the Marlins. I can't see this man being on this squad much longer, given the window that we're seeing here. I'm sure the Marlins had him on the trading block. I'm sure they were probably asking for a bit more, and I'm sure a lot of teams are probably kicking themselves for not trading for him this year. But I won't be surprised if Jake Burger is sent out this offseason. I think he would be very valuable, showing the way that he's ending this 2024 campaign. And the fact that I think there's still maybe a season or two left of team control for Burger as well. I think the Marlins would have would probably get a pretty good package for Burger in the offseason. So I think that's what's going to happen with Jake Burger. Unfortunately, he's one of the guys that you would want to keep, but just looking at his age and the way everything's going, I don't think the next 2 seasons, when he's going to be hitting 30, I don't think the Marlins are not. They're definitely not at that window to compete. So Xavier Edwards, so he's having a fantastic 2024 season. 47 games played for the Fish. He's currently hitting .349, and this is one of those guys where it's like, hey, maybe this is one of the few guys, one of the few pieces that you could see moving forward over the next 4 or 5 seasons, right? But he's 25 right now. So him hitting his prime, having a fantastic season thus far at the plate, you could see that being part of the next great Marlins squad 4 years down the line, if everything goes right with this. So Xavier Edwards is one of those where you put a pin on him and say, all right, let's see how this goes, because so far with the opportunity he's getting right now, he's making the most of it. That's another thing. I'm seeing Skip Schumacher back there, and I do realize that he is a free agent manager after this season, and definitely not gonna stay with the Marlins. So that's another thing that's part of this transition where he's part of the Kim Ng regime, and Bendix is probably not. I'm sure the Marlins will offer a contract to him. I don't see how you can't, but it seems like Schumacher's probably going to go elsewhere. Trying to think of a squad that he could go to. So let's take a look at some places here. The Yanks are okay. So the Phillies definitely are going to be keeping their manager. Snickers, of course, going to stay with Atlanta. All things are good there. The New York Mets are also going to be sticking with their manager, most likely. Davey Martinez is going to stick around in D.C. for sure. I think Washington is going to want to see that through for him to be to manage that squad in their next era. Milwaukee's gonna keep everything. They got a new manager this season. That's fine. The Cubs hovering on 500, but they just hired Craig Counsell, and he's been paid a boatload of money. So definitely not going to make any changes there. Man, the St. Louis Cardinals with Marmol. A ton of people are like the speculation is that Schumacher's probably being primed for that job, and nobody would be shocked if that happened. So I definitely wouldn't be. So we shall see. The Cincinnati Reds, I can't see Schumacher going there, or maybe Pittsburgh with Shelton. Those squads out there, I can't see Schumacher making that move to leap on over to that Central Division and compete against St. Louis. But those squads, St. Louis, Cincinnati, and Pittsburgh, they're below 500. They're not that far. They're not awful. They're just not good. And I think one of those teams could definitely be making a big offer to him to try and see if he can have that little bit of magic to try and push them over the top. The LA Dodgers, they're not going to be... I think Dave Roberts' job is safe, but I always see him as the Doc Rivers of baseball, where, man, if they don't win the World Series, it's a disappointment, right? Like, he's only got one championship, and it was in the shortened season. So, I think a lot of people see that as if it didn't even exist. We've got Ohtani now. I'm not sure. That Dodgers job is very high profile, and Schumacher's from Southern California. Huh. That... Just put a pin on that one. Arizona's going to be fine. They're not... Lovello's not going to go anywhere. San Diego. Now, San Diego... I think... San Diego's also kind of out there, right? San Francisco... I think they just got Melvin Wright, so he's not going to go anywhere for now. I think the Giants are just in a weird position where they can't seem to capture any free agents, despite the fact that they have a pretty good organization. They have the money to spend, but nobody wants to go out there. Or they just keep getting outbid or... in some sort of fashion by a different team. Not even outbid. Sometimes the Giants have offered equal or more money, but guys just don't want to go there. Nobody's going to Colorado. Schumacher would not go to Colorado. The New York Yankees. Now here's another one. Here's another high-profile job. Aaron Boone's been at that job for a long time now. He got that job going straight from the TV booth to the managerial position. However, the Yankees don't win the World Series again this year. You start to ask some questions, right? I think my boy Charles over at my other show, Sports Goofs, he's a Yankees fan, and he definitely would want Schumacher at the helm in the Bronx. And so, gosh, a disappointing exit in the playoffs by the Yankees, let's say in the division series. Heck, might even... They could, if someone sneaks up on them and let's say the Baltimore Orioles win the division, the Yankees are going to get snuck up on in the wild card game. Are you telling me that Boone's job, like that seat, is going to be on fire if they lose in the wild card round after having this type of season? After, let's say, Aaron Judge hits close to 60 again? Boston, I think Cora is going to be fine there, given the fact that they're only 5 games back in the wild card race, 8.5 in their division. I think the Red Sox, I think they're just going to give it another go with trying to land some guys in free agency and see if they can push it from there. Toronto, I think it would take quite a bit to get Schumacher to jump over to Canada. But that does seem like a situation where I think that could work for him. It's a young but disappointing squad that might need a new voice to put them over the top. And then Tampa Bay, Kevin Cash is not gonna get fired anytime soon. He's gonna have that job for as long as he wants that job. the same thing like with Madden, basically. Just he'll have the job as long as it seems like that he wants to keep that job. Cleveland, definitely not going to change any managers there. Kansas City, same thing. Minnesota, same thing. And I don't think Schumacher would ever want to go to Detroit or the White Sox. So that will not be a viable position there. And then you have the West, which I think you'll see some squads here that maybe, but Houston, he won't be going there. They're doing fine. I think Service is fine as far as the Mariners are concerned, but maybe in the future. But I think Schumacher's, at least for this offseason, he's definitely not. He's definitely going to get a new job someplace else and jump ship someplace. The Rangers, man, this World Series hangover is probably the worst we've seen in a long time. They're probably not going to make the playoffs, but trying to think how many years Bruce Bochy signed up for. Because honestly, Bruce Bochy doesn't have to manage again. He could just retire if he felt like it. He got another World Series championship, and maybe you could want one more and try and see if you can give it one more run for one more season. But, gosh, that Rangers job, I think Schumacher could jump ship and see if they can go there. They have the money to spend. And then definitely Schumacher won't go to Oakland and won't go to the Angels. Even though Anaheim, Southern California. But, man, if one of those other jobs with the Dodgers or something that pops up, I think Schumacher probably takes it, given the money that they would spend. So that's where I see Schumacher going there. Okay. Let's see what else we've got here with who the heck is on the Marlins, finding out about the Fish. I'm not even halfway through this roster, but we're at 43 minutes right now. So David Hensley, he won the World Series back in 2022 with Houston. Came to the Fish off waivers from Houston back at the end of July. And he's hitting .261 thus far this year, but for the Marlins, so far 261, So that's the only team he's played for this season in 10 games. Vidal Brujan has played in 93 games for the Fish this year. I think he was one of the, pick up here from, he was traded. Traded last season around, I guess, the winter meetings or something like that to the Marlins. One of the few off-season moves the Marlins made to transition to this year that was basically signaling to everybody that they're going to be rebuilding. Derek Hill, hitting .239 thus far with the Fish. Or I guess this season, and he's hitting .226 with the Fish alone. And he was previously with San Francisco, came with the Marlins via being picked up off waivers from the Giants. Connor Norby came to the Marlins via the Trevor Rogers trade. And so far, that's working out for the Marlins. He's hitting .300 thus far. I think he's got 6 straight multi-hit games. And since to start out his career in Miami, and there he is actually speaking behind me right now, in the press conference at the moment. So let's see, maybe that's a piece. Maybe that's a really good piece for the Marlins moving forward. And where's my 40-man roster here? How old is this man? He is Connor Norby. He's 24 years old. So that's another guy that, let's say him, Xavier Edwards, like 3 to 4 years down the line, hopefully this Marlins squad starts these moves with the Fish start to bear fruit. And maybe Norby could be part of that next great Marlins squad. So Christian Pache came over. He came over from Philadelphia, I think, right? Or Baltimore. Is he another one of that? I'm not sure. Let's see. He was selected. He was on the Phillies earlier this year. Sent out to Baltimore. The Marlins selected him from the Orioles off of waivers. And then Jonah Bride came over to the Fish. Let's take a look at how he got here. His contract was purchased by the Fish before the season started. Nick Fortes has been here with the Marlins his entire Major League career. Since 2021, he's a catcher. He's been a fairly reliable catcher there, so just kind of sticking around with the Marlins. All right, let's continue on here. Jesus Sanchez. Veteran presence with the Marlins now, right? He's been with them since 2020. He's currently 26 years old now. We'll see if he definitely mashes the ball, but just very inconsistent. And I don't know if he's long for the Marlins either. But he's just one of those guys that I'm not sure. Maybe a change of scenery is what he would need, and maybe some team could see some value in that. And he's got 15 home runs thus far this season, and the Marlins have not much pop aside from him and Jake Berger, right? So he would be so good if he could just find some level of consistency. But hey, he could probably get you a couple more, let's say a good month or so. Maybe he gets to 20 home runs, which, I mean, right now he's got a career high. So I'm just thinking of it from the standpoint of whether Jesus Sanchez is going to be on this Marlins squad for long. Because like I said, I think 3, 4, 5 years is where you're going to see if this team is going to be good. That's when it's going to be. And Jesus Sanchez being 26, if his production goes up, if he gets 20 this season, right? And maybe he can finally start building from this. Maybe he can hit 25 next season. Maybe he could have a really good year and hit 30, right? Suddenly, you're looking at, can they trade him to get some really good pieces? Or could he be the anchor as a cleanup hitter for the Marlins? Maybe he can build up some consistency. But he's 26 right now. He turned 26. He was born in October, so he'll be 27 next season when the season starts. Man, I don't think. Let's take a look at his contract situation. 1 second. And so he'll be arbitration eligible. Yeah, for this offseason, right? So the Marlins will definitely go to arbitration with him, and his earliest free agency period will be 2028. So they'll have 3 seasons of control. I'm thinking we keep Sanchez even through this offseason, going into next season, and we'll see where he's at by July. If he's made the jump, right? Maybe he's at 15 home runs by the All-Star break. I could see some teams biting for that to see if he can hit 15 more over the course of a season and hit 30 home runs, right? That could be a good trade piece right there. Because he'll be 27, he'll be going on 28. I think you do have to unload him at some point, because he's not going to be part of the next good Marlins team, because this is not going to be a quick rebuild. I can't see it being that unless some people play out of their minds. Or Peter Bendix is a god at the level of a Bill Zito and just finds all the pieces and puts it all together. Not sure. Oh, let's see. 51 minutes. Gosh, I'm not even through this entire roster. Just a bunch of guys. Dane Myers, okay. Yeah, we know about Dane Myers. We've seen Dane Myers. Played 40 games thus far. This season, hitting 265. He is... let's see. 10-day IL right now. And he is... how old is this man? 27 years old. Yeah, definitely won't be part of the next great Marlins squad, right? So he's just... he's going to fill out this roster. Going to be on this squad. And we'll see from there. Andrew Nardi, so pitcher. He's played for the Marlins his entire career. Let's see his contract situation. He is arbitration eligible in 2026. And he's got a career WAR point of 1.6. So, how old is this man? He is 26 years old. So I see the Marlins keeping him around, and then if he continues to be a reliable reliever, I'm just thinking. I mean, this entire thing that I'm looking at right now is just I'm trying to reacquaint myself with some of these guys on this team and seeing which one of these guys is going to stick around, because there's really not many guys that you can attach yourself to when you are a Marlins fan. So who are the guys who we're going to be watching over the course of the next few seasons? That's why I was talking about the 98 squad and the 99 squad, because there's a bunch of guys that were just there to fill a roster. They're not meant to be part of this team on the next great Marlins squad 4 or 5 years down the line. They never were. They're just the timing is not right. They're either gonna be too old by that point, or they would be more valuable as a trade piece to somebody else, especially if they're doing well, and you don't see them being part of that team in those 4 years, right? So Nardi is one of those guys that's sitting there where he's on that border where maybe if he's on the next great Marlins team, he's probably on there for like one more season and then he's gone. Let me see. Let me put another game behind me. Let's put the Rays and Dodgers game in the background here. Just have something back there. There we go. Okay. And then Anthony Bender, another one of the Marlins relievers back there. Played his entire career with the Marlins. He's 29 years old, and he's definitely not going to be on the next great Marlins team. Jesus Luzardo. So he's 26 years old. He's got a lot of value as far as trading him is concerned. He is arbitration eligible this off season, and he'll have he doesn't hit free agency until 2027. So there's a couple years of control there for some teams, and as much as it would have been fun to see him play out a long portion of his career with the Marlins, he's probably not long for it. People thought he'd be traded this year. Definitely was part of those rumors. Definitely was on the market. I think he'll be moved probably this offseason. I could see him going along with Jake Berger. Just really, just do the whole thing. Just do the entire teardown. And nobody from the 2023 squad is going to be left aside from Jesus Sanchez and some of the relievers, right, that I just named. That'll be it. So let's just completely do the entire teardown and go from there. Yeah, and I think Lusardo will definitely, he's gonna go. Not long for this squad. Ryan Weathers, this project that the Marlins have been on with this guy, 24 years old right now, the son of David Weathers, former Marlins great, quote unquote. 1.8 WAR thus far in 2024. But he's only pitched in 13 games this season. And he's on the IL. Definitely a project. The Marlins aren't going to move him. He's going to be sticking around. We'll see if he is going to be part of that next great Marlins squad. So he's just a wait-and-see project right here. And then Braxton Garrett, also on the IL. And I guess that's another thing that we have for this upcoming season is the Marlins have a ton of guys on the IL as far as pitching is concerned and starting pitching. So, I mean, you just can't get rid of every starter, right? Luzardo's the only one that I really named. That's a starter that you would probably trade. Then we'll get to the Sandy Alcantara question as well. He's not getting traded this offseason. But next season, let's say he has a strong comeback from Tommy John. Mid-season, it would probably be a really, really good package that would get him to be moved. But definitely, I can't see Alcantara being long for the Marlins past next season. At the latest, the 2025 offseason. So, I've named Alcantara already, so that's part of this list. Josh Simpson. I didn't even talk about Braxton Garrett, but he's injured. It doesn't matter. He's also on the IL. He's 27 years old. He's just going to be sticking around there. Sixto Sanchez. Man, this guy is only 22 years old. He's only 22 years old. That's what really sucks about this. He's 26 years old. Sorry, what was I reading? Okay. Yeah, he's 26 years old. Man, what did I read? Oh, his debut. Whoops, that's me. That was a dumb thing that I just said. Okay. So Sixto is, let's see, what's his thing here? This is his final season with the Marlins, and he's definitely not going to get any sort of offer from them. He's just going to be out there. I don't think any team's going to bite on him over the course of the offseason. I don't think he's probably going to bounce around either internationally or with independent ball and try and stage a comeback in his career. But really disappointing. Eury Perez, injured. So he's going to be one of those guys that Marlins hope is on the next great Marlins squad. Adam Mazur. Who the heck is this guy? Well, he's on the Marlins roster. He just hasn't played for the team yet. So he's just sticking around. How is he on the roster here? Traded from San Diego in the Brian Hoeing and Tanner Scott trade. So he's just hanging around right now, and he's just there, and he's a pitcher, and I guess he's just not ready to pitch. Xavier Curry. Let's see. He is 26 years old. Marlins have a lot of guys in their mid-20s right now. I guess that's part of this as well. Is that I think one of the few things that we can say about Peter Bendix with this is that he is he's picking up a lot of guys in their mid-20s just that are projects because I mean that's who you're gonna get right now. So just trying to see what they've got, and maybe they'll cap somebody with some good play, but yeah, this guy, how is he on the Marlins? Off waivers by the Marlins from Cleveland. Okay. Anthony Maldonado, he's played in 11 games thus far this season. He's in the minors. He's on the 40-man roster, and he was traded a long time ago, and so he's just kind of hanging out. Just hanging out. He's 26 years old. Probably not going to be in the next great Marlins squad. The same thing with Austin Kitchen. He's 27 years old. He is, let's see, selected off waivers from Colorado, and he's pitched in one game and got 2 innings, and he gave up 3 runs. And so Darren how do you say that? McCahan, Tom Coughlin. He is 28 years old. Won't be on the next great Marlins squad. And wait, how is he in Cleveland right now? Why is he still on the roster with this? He selected off. Why is he on this? I guess they're I don't know why he's on. I guess Baseball Reference didn't update this thing. Victor Mesa. Okay, these are the rest of the guys who are, I guess, just on the roster, on the 40-man roster here. Because Victor Mesa has not made his Major League debut yet. He is 22 years old. He's been in the Marlins organization forever. And that guy he's got to get here sometime, right? Because I've been hearing about this dude for like 6 years now. And he's not on the team. So when the F is he going to get it here? That's why this is the reason I can't stand prospects. And I don't have the mental bandwidth to care about them. Is that we're waiting so long. I'm hearing about these names from like Fish on First and whatever, just talking about, or Fish on the Farm as well, talking about these guys on the minor league system. And yeah, that's probably where you want to think about with all this, the excitement and everything for the for what little you have with this Marlins squad, but I just can't care about them. They're not on the team. They're not on the roster. They take forever just to get here. Like Victor Mesa, he was 17 years old. He's definitely not going to make his Major League debut, but he's 22 now. He's in Jupiter again right now. He's hitting 167 with their Hammerheads. And so it's like he was in AAA, then he went back down to Single A. Like, my God, just do like. Is this guy gonna be a bust? Seems like it. Seems like he's gonna be a bust. So we heard about this guy signing and whatever. They did a whole thing with Jeter and a press conference, and yet he's taken this long and he hasn't made it yet. And he's probably not gonna make it. So I can't invest that much time into these guys that are so young and just to have them fizzle out by the end. No, talk to me when they make the majors. As much as we can trash, like I said, a lot of people trash on the guys that are on this current roster. We don't know their names and who the heck they are, but at least they've made it. At least they've made it. At least they made it someplace else. Instead of caring about a guy that is probably never going to make it. Agustin Ramirez, another guy, hasn't made the Major League roster. Johnny Pereda, he's actually played on the Marlins this year. He's played 9 games. He's a catcher. And he came to us via... We picked him up as a free agent. Okay, one of the few free agent prospects or selections. Tristan Gray, he's there. He's 7 games and hasn't done a thing at all. He doesn't have a single hit. And then Graham Pauley, he's hitting 125. And is he even on this roster? He is. He was part of the Hoeing trade and the Scott trade. And then Forrest Wall. and he's played in 3 games, and he's got 3 at-bats, and he's got 1 hit. And that is it. So those are the guys that are on the Marlins. Took me about an hour with a few tangents there to try and get through it, but maybe 4 guys on this squad are probably going to be here. I could see in the next 3 seasons, but everybody else is going to go. Okay, so